want to know whether you share Congressman Ron Paul's skepticism of the Fed. And now I'm going to quote you. This isn't in Basic Economics, but a recent column. Quote, "For most of the history of this country, there was no Federal Reserve System." There you go, that dirty trick of bringing in history.
Ah, yes.
There was no Federal Reserve System, which was established in 1914 to prevent bank failures. But bank failures in the 1930s exceeded anything ever seen before the Fed was established. Close quote. If we could make you dictator, would you abolish the Fed?
Yes.
You would.
Yes, I mean, for the reasons I just gave, the history. There's no, the Fed represented wonderful hopes, but we've had so many programs that represented wonderful hopes that ended in disaster. I don't doubt that someone who is sufficiently scholarly could come up with examples of where the Federal Reserve made things better. But the question is, overall, what was it supposed to do? It was supposed to do not only prevent bank failures, it was supposed to prevent huge changes in the money supply, in particular, great deflations.
Right.
The greatest deflation in American history occurred under the Federal Reserve System. There was a crisis in 1907. J.P. Morgan, the original J.P. Morgan, called the other bankers into a room, supposedly locked the doors, and said, "We've got to do something or we're going to all collapse." And they did something, and they didn't all collapse. But the progressives were shocked that one man could come in and take command of the situation, and especially someone who wasn't even in the government.
Right. So what would you do? You'd move us back to the gold standard, or you'd let banks issue their own currencies the way they did up through the Civil War? Say I could.
Well, they weren't doing any of those things as the time the Federal Reserve was created. We were on the gold standard, though. But whether we're on or off the gold standard, that's another whole set of arguments. There's no evidence that I can see that over this vast period of time that the Federal Reserve has existed, that things on the whole have been better. The great post-World War II inflation was fed by the Federal Reserve doing exactly what they're planning to do now, namely buying up the bonds issued by the Treasury.
But don't you have, I have to say, I wasn't expecting your answer to run in this direction, so I don't have follow-up questions prepared, or I may actually have to think here in real time. But don't we have the example of that period from 83 through a couple of years ago, that 25 years of economic expansion? We had only two downturns. They were both very shallow and very brief. And what you had was Paul Volcker, whom Carter appointed, but Reagan gave the freedom actually to wring inflation out of the currency. He did that by the mid-'80s. The economy takes off. Alan Greenspan does a reasonably good job. And then at the end, there's too much money but maybe 5 years of getting it wrong. So
what Volcker did was undo the harm that previous Federal Reserves had done.
Including Arthur Burns.
Yeah, unfortunately, who was my teacher and one whom I much admired.
Right. So, but what would you replace it with? How would the currency? How would the currency run?
We would replace it. We could replace it with what existed when it was created,
which was the gold standard.
Well, maybe the gold standard, but maybe not. But there's no evidence that what would you replace it things always bother me.
They do?
When someone removes the cancer, what do you replace it with?
Okay.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher, and guys, please like and subscribe. If you do like what you're listening to, please inform your friends and family. It is imperative that we get back to learning finances and understand how the world really works, because once we understand how the world really works, we understand that everything is planned out. Now, I want to thank those who donated to the Cash App, Patreon. Much love. Keep it coming. Also, those who purchased the book, Crypto Teacher NWO book. The NWO book is so important right now. But of course, guys, we want to get into Bitcoin and the cryptos first. Now we can see the stock market has taken a left. As we know, the stock market took a beating. And what happened? Cryptos took a beating. Now, of course, the stock market is being lifted up. And of course, the stock market will go along with it. Why? Because as we know, the repo is done on June 30th. So we have another repo coming in, that big money. Now, of course, we can't see how much they're doing now because they stopped that. We can't see it until after. So we'll find out in a few days actually how much they actually did. But remember, in cryptos, of course, we're going to stick with the fundamentals. Of course, the stable coins, XRP, and volume. Now, we're going to get on stable coins real quick because I sent in the Patreon I sent about Binance doing a revamping of the system, so to speed things up. Now the fact is that all of a sudden they get $300 million, and Tether, guys, come on guys, we gotta wake up to this. This is playing for something way bigger down the line. $300 million, that's one whop from the Treasury, guys. And of course, what happens? Well, of course, we have that big check coming tomorrow. So that's not any chance. They have to put, remember they're running 11 different operations where they're just sending money all over the place. 11 different repo operations. So you have to keep that in mind. Don't forget that. Now, basically getting over into crypto news, we have Australia. Post office is offering cryptos. We have Tesla that came out saying that they need the Bitcoin Lightning for the robo taxi fleet. Guys, we know that's all Tesla's about is basically automation. You know, the Tesla cars, yes, you can drive them, but the whole purpose of the Tesla car is for it to drive itself, the automation. When it first came out, that's what it was all supposed to be about. Of course, they have to gradually move you. That's the reason why the movies, they gradually move you into the direction they need you to go into. So therefore, when you see it, you're not surprised. Now, also, you have PayPal prepping for cryptocurrency, buying, selling, trading. So, guys, just like I stated, it's all coming together. All these corporations are linked up some way, somehow. But this summer is going to be big. Only thing we're going to be doing, like I stated, is making higher lows until they hit that switch. Now, of course, they're going to run us up before they, of course, announce it to the masses. They're going to run that price up. So that's the reason why we have to be focused and make sure we're staying focused, you know, on the indicators, and then also how much money the Fed is putting out there. Because, of course, the more money they put out there, higher the stock market, the higher the cryptos. Now, basically, like I stated, we have the Fed meeting June 30th, which is tomorrow. Of course, they want the Dow. They want everything looking good. So all eyes are off them. They can have the little meeting with the House and keep it moving. Now, more world news. We have the FICO scores now going to put in their indicator on how you did during this economic downturn. So guys, like I said, the only thing they're doing is matching us up with China, putting all this social platform in with the actual credit score. So therefore, they can tell you whether you can travel or not. Just like I stated, basically, if you look at all the population numbers, I'm going to do a video on that, on how our population in the United States is going to be around 250 million instead of the 350 million that we have now in about 5 years. So, of course, we have baby boomers going to be falling off left and right over that time. And then also, of course, the kids are having children at an older age. That means they're having less kids. Populations is very, very important to your economy. Very important. And that is not talked about. But population is very, very important. Now, basically, we have the corporations taking advantage of the C word. Guys, we know right now, like yesterday, over the weekend, they've been saying, oh, the C word, the numbers have been going up. So that's all you saw in the media was the numbers going up. The numbers are going up. And of course, all these numbers are going up down south where we know the heat kills viruses. Real cold area kills viruses. So Arizona, Florida, we know that's all a lie for anybody who understands and has common sense. But that's what they're pushing on the masses. And these heat-populated areas, you know the virus is not going to live. So, guys, that's just common sense. Real hot areas, real cold areas, viruses don't live. But the fact is that we have Gillette that came out and stated that they have, you know, a medication that can cure the C word. And, of course, they're going to be selling it for $3,200 a pop. So, guys, this is all about making money. That's all this is about. Money and power, guys. Never leave that out your mind. Now, guys, that's all I have for you. Don't forget about the books, NWO book, Crypto Teacher. Also, if you're new to cryptos, Binance, BitTrue, Coinbase. Also, your stocks, Cobalt, chip stocks, your gaming, banks. Of course, never ever bet against the bank. Everybody's sitting at home. Don't forget about those stocks. Also, the C word, biotech stocks, they're going to be booming right now because, of course, we have these vaccines that they're pushing and cures that they're pushing, the medications. And then also, guys, since everybody's sitting at home getting a free check, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and y'all have a wonderful day.